finally a productivity planner that boosts your business growth. Today, we're going to deep dive into a productivity planner that honestly has changed my life. It's helped me to reprogram my brain, helped me to approach my work much better than before. And now I don't feel overwhelmed when I look at my tasks. When I have my to-do list, I'm not thinking, how am I going to complete this? Like, what do I do first? And also, I'm not doing that horrible thing, which I'm sure you guys have probably done yourself if you struggle with productivity, is when you start one task and then you haven't even finished it, and somehow you've started on another task and it's completely different to the first task, and you're just kind of like juggling 20 tasks in one go. Well, finally, this genuinely has helped me to just look at each task in a very different way to how I was approaching it before. I've tried all the apps, I've tried everything that you can think of, and honestly, this is the only productivity planner that genuinely has changed my workflow. Before we head into this, don't forget I'm on several different social media platforms. I have a newsletter, I have Instagram, TikTok, I have another YouTube channel which focuses on beauty tutorials and how-tos, very educational, so you're gonna love that. And if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Let's get started. You've probably come across productivity videos before on YouTube, and there are several different ones around, like top 5 or 10 productivity apps. And honestly, I feel like just having that many apps or anything close to that is just going to overwhelm me. And if I'm feeling overwhelmed by, like, even if there were just 3 different apps on my phone to focus on productivity, which I've tried out, like I said, I've tried everything, it genuinely has overwhelmed me. I just feel like it takes up more time having this many apps on my phone. So I really wanted one thing, just something, and it didn't even have to be an app, something that's going to really help me to streamline my work and not have me looking at so many different apps. Like, honestly, I just don't even understand how people juggle so many apps on their phone just to do one thing. So I really am excited about sharing this with you, because this one simple thing really helped me in streamlining my work. My workflow is just smoother, my approach is better to my work, I understand my tasks, and I work on one task at a time. That's the main thing for me. I work on one task at a time, because honestly, beforehand, I used to dabble in so many different tasks in one go. It was just a bit overwhelming. I mean, realistically, we live in a world which is designed to distract us. We've got the iPad, the laptop, the phone, there's just all sorts of stuff, and it's really hard to not be distracted. And the thing is, you wouldn't see it as being distracted, because sometimes what we're doing is work on those things. But ultimately, we can end up being distracted while we're working, because that same one thing that we're working on, for example, the laptop, will have notifications come through, and there's just, everything is so streamlined on these devices that we end up being distracted whilst we're trying to be productive. On top of that, the attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, and you're constantly overloaded with content. I feel like everything that we consume really does in the long term reprogram our brains without us even realizing it. So it's no wonder that it's so hard to actually stay productive. And therefore, I really want you to understand it's not actually your fault if you are not productive. Not in every case, I'm not going to lie, not in every case. There could be things that you could change very easily that would make you productive, like, for example, not procrastinating, just generally not being lazy. But when it comes to being productive and knowing that you are not lazy, you're not procrastinating, and you still struggle with being productive, then there are like little changes that you can make. And there are so many other reasons that you may not be productive. For example, the fear of not actually completing the job well, lack of clarity, and just you feeling like, okay, am I actually going to be able to finish this task at hand? Or I don't feel like I have enough time. Like, it's general anxiety where you overthink, and then therefore it causes you to not actually get work done, and you struggle with productivity. So in light of this, let me explain to you what I used to be like, so that you realize that you're not alone and you can completely turn it around. It was such a struggle for me to actually stay productive, even though I used to get work done. Don't get me wrong, I used to get my work done. I was quite happy with like actually finishing things, but my process in trying to finish those things was just so long, because I used to overthink things. I didn't have the fear of completing the task, but I did have a problem with kind of processing information in one go. Like I felt like I really needed to simplify things so that it would make more sense to me. So I'm the kind of person where if I just have too many things in my mind, I just feel very cluttered in my mind. And it's really difficult for me to then streamline things and just feel like everything is simple. When it probably is simple, but I've overthought it. I've actually made it more complicated than it is. And honestly, my husband helped me so much in this, like generally trying to clear my mind and approach things differently as well. So that's one thing. You need to have a husband like mine. He really did help because he helped me to understand that not everything needs to be so complicated. And he is genuinely the king of Excel spreadsheets and just generally streamlining everything. But still, this is me and he is the way he is, but that doesn't mean that I am going to be able to be that way, you know? So I need to somehow take the good bits and take the good advice and kind of make it workable for me so that it feels comfortable to me and I don't feel like I'm a completely different person, because some things that come naturally to him are not necessarily going to come that naturally to me. And that's okay. I used to basically not even have a to-do list. I didn't even have a to-do list. I just kind of like used to think, right, what do I need to do, and do it. It was really weird. Like, I don't even know how I even functioned before I did to-do lists. I actually don't know when I started doing them, because I just cannot even remember anything before to-do lists. When I did start doing to-do lists, that generally did help me so much. So even something as little as having a to-do list, which you'll be surprised a lot of people don't actually have, can genuinely help the way that you work, because putting things on paper is going to help you. It's like saying something out loud. You know, when you think it, it's just in your mind. When you say it out loud, it's like affirmations. When you're saying something positive about yourself, you know, it just feels like it's more achievable and you believe it. It's like you have to say it out loud. It's the same thing as your to-do list. And once you have that to-do list, that's your first step, because you've got a to-do list. But now what you want to do is change the way that you write that to-do list. So you want to prioritize that to-do list. And this is where a certain book really did help me. And this productivity planner, I genuinely did not think this was going to help me. I genuinely thought this was going to be just the same as any other kind of planner that I've tried before. But I actually was shocked when it actually worked. Like, I actually followed it step by step and it worked. I couldn't believe it. And it was such a simple change that I made. When I used to have my to-do lists, even after prioritizing them, I used to start with one task and I wouldn't stick to it. I would just kind of like start it, and then something would pop up on my laptop or like a notification or something, or I'd remember something about a different task, and then I'd get started and I'd actually start that next task before I've even finished my first task. And I remember stopping one time thinking, what am I doing? Like, what kind of work approach is this? Like, who works like this? This isn't normal. Because I just couldn't believe how easily distracted I was. It wasn't even like I was being distracted by social media. I was being distracted by my own work. And that's what made it so crazy, is that I was still being productive, but in the most messy way possible. What I did is I actually went out and bought the 5-minute journal, if that's what it's called. I can't remember. But it's the 5 minutes a day or something journal, right? By Intelligent Thinking. And I bought that because I thought, you know what? I'm not into this whole journaling thing. Like, it's not me. I'm not going to sit and write down my thoughts for the day. It's just, it's just not me, right? And I genuinely felt like I just had too much stuff to do. Spending an extra 20-30 minutes a day, probably morning and night, journaling was just such a waste of time for me. But then at the same time, I remember seeing both my sisters had this book. Whenever they used to come on vacation here, like they'd be chilling at my place and I'd see they'd religiously have this book with them. And one of my sisters, I used to see her just without fail in the evening, she'd be writing in her journal without fail. And I was like, she is so dedicated to this. So I asked her, and she's busy, she's a lawyer. So I'm like, how is she finding the time? Because she probably has less time than me to focus on stuff like this. So I asked her and I was like, you know, what is this journal? Like, I've seen so many people use it. Like, is it worth it? And they both actually said, because I asked them in a group that we have, and they were both like, it's honestly great. It's so good. And one of my sisters has already gone through, I think, 15 of them already, you know? So I thought, you know what? Why not? Let me give it a go. It might just generally, you know, clear my mind a bit. Let's just see what it's about. You don't know until you try it, right? So I actually ordered one, and I thought while I was shopping, I actually saw this productivity planner there. And I thought, okay, you know what? I've given up on the whole productivity planner thing and like the apps and things like that. But then I thought, you know what, let me try it. Might as well. So I added it to cart and I bought it. And then when it came, I'm going to be honest, I started on my 5-minute journal thing first. And I love it, by the way, just an FYI. Super easy, super short. It's the perfect type of journal for people who don't like journaling. This is for you. So maybe I'll do another video talking about how to journal when you don't know how to journal and when you don't have the time, but that's for another video. But then I thought, you know what, this book was sitting here, my productivity planner was sitting here, and I thought, you know what, there's at least like a chapter in here that you need to read first before you actually get to the planning. You know, it teaches you how to actually be productive and how to use the planner. And I started beginning of January, and I sat down and I read the planner. And I thought, okay, I get it. I understand what it's saying. It's kind of what I kind of already knew, but just wasn't able to somehow do. And I started with the planner and I did it exactly how it said. So it mentions that you can time your tasks. The whole focus of it actually is on making sure, firstly, you obviously list down your tasks. And there's a whole way that you fill out this planner. So if you want to go for the planner, I would highly recommend it because it genuinely has everything set out for you. It helps you to actually track your habits and things. So it's quite detailed. It's not just a book that you can write your tasks on, you know. There's a lot more to it. And I would say that, you know, if you're interested in really getting down to the nitty-gritty, you know, part of productivity and really getting to the root issue, then I would get the planner. But ultimately, what it talks about is setting yourself a timer for each task, and that can be 20 to 30 minutes, right? So you prioritize your list of to-do tasks for the day, and then you start on that first task, and what you do is you actually estimate how long you think you're going to need on that task, right? So you have a rough idea. Okay, I think I'm going to need maybe 2 hours on this task, right? So you fill out, you want 2 hours for this task. And then what you do is you set a timer. And this is what actually blew my mind when I started doing it, is that timer is set to, I set mine to 30 minutes. And when it hits 30 minutes, you're still obviously working on that task that you think will take 2 hours, right? As soon as it hits 30 minutes, you take a 5-minute break. Now, within those 30 minutes, you are not distracted. But my issue was that sometimes you can't help those distractions. For example, my husband will walk in, start chatting to me. I'll be honest, there were times where I could actually end up being really rude, where I'm like, I just can't talk. And in the end, you've just got to stop. You can't be like that, you know? Firstly, it's just not nice. It's not nice for the other person. And I have a habit of doing that when I'm really consumed by my work. But also what I liked was this book basically tells you that if you are distracted, it's fine. Just press pause on your timer, because then you don't feel like that distraction is eating into your time that you've allocated for your work, right? And as long as you get back to it, that's the main thing. And it's not a major distraction where you have to head out and then come back in. So that's your kind of like focus time on that task. Now, after your 5-minute break, you hit start again on the timer and you do another 30 minutes. Now, let's just say it takes 3 hours to complete that task and you estimated 2 hours. That's fine, because you can just go ahead and write in like, what did it actually take you, what you thought it would take, and then what it actually took you. The good thing about this is that you're starting with the tasks that you know are urgent, they're a priority to you, and then you slowly get to the others. And if you don't finish that list by the end of the day, it's fine. You can just move that end task to the next day, because that wasn't in kind of like the top priority for you anyway, right? And that's the whole reason you prioritize your to-do list. So this book has genuinely changed the way that I actually approach my work. Honestly, this works way better than anything I've ever tried. I would highly recommend trying it this way. Even if you don't go out and get this book straight away, prioritize your to-do list, set a timer for 30 minutes, and then do 30 minutes solid. That means real pure focus on that task. You're not messing around. You're not doing anything else. You are purely working on that task. And as much as this may seem like such an easy thing, like as in I don't need to do that because I'm fine anyway. I don't even know what to say. It genuinely works, guys. Now I don't feel like I'm relying on the planner so much. I feel like I am kind of like approaching my work in general in this way. And by the way, this planner, you can get it in black as well, which is great. Actually, they do a bigger one as well, which is like a week planner, which is great. I haven't used that one yet. I do have it. I honestly have to say this is well worth it. If you are struggling with productivity, this is going to change your life, because this has made me look at my work differently, has made me work differently. I have managed to grow my business through this because I now am more efficient. I am more productive in general. My workflow is better. I'm able to actually complete tasks that I was pushing jumping to next week, and then never got them done. I'm able to actually complete tasks now, and it's pretty crazy how a small change can actually do that. So I would highly recommend this. And if you do end up getting this, do let me know in the comments box below, and I'm really hoping it's going to work for you too. You don't have to rely on 100 different apps. You can genuinely just change a few little things with the way that you work, and you're good to go. So I hope you've enjoyed this video today. It was a nice little chitty chatty kind of video. I really just wanted to give you my honest opinion about how this worked for me. And yeah, if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care, and I'll see you soon.